The last question is, should people in their 20s focus on their career or building family relationships first?
Career.
Why you say career, Todd?
Because I think a lot of our youth are moving too fast. They're not, and whether it's by choice or not a choice. And I think as you slow your life down and enjoy life in its levels, and you're taught the right things, I think it gives you the ability to, become the best person you can be. But when you're kind of like moving a little too fast, you're kind of skipping the process. You're kind of skipping some things. So to jump from, not worrying about your career to trying to, take care of a family, I want to know how you're going to take care of this family if you haven't thought about a career. So if you're not put in a position, one, to focus on a career, or two, you don't take it serious, I don't see how the family and everything else is just going to be that much easier.
Now, are we talking about early 20s or are we talking about late?
Ooh, that's a good one, right?
Might change the game right there.
Let's say 25. Let's say mid-20s.
Yeah, let's go smack dab in the middle.
I think personally that young women are taught of other cultures.
You are in my brain. This is exactly where I was going to go. Okay.
Young women of other cultures are taught that when they go to school to get that bachelor's degree in whatever it is, that you are really going there to get a husband and you're not really going there to get a bachelor's degree. Sure, you are going to get some sort of career working somewhere. You may just be a teacher making $60,000 a year, but you're really going to school to get a husband. While
that's the first one.
While other cultures are taught, girl, go out there and put you first. Put your career first.
Pause. First of all, I don't even like how you change your voice. Like you that culture with the neck roll and the voice change. I don't appreciate that. I feel attacked, and I feel like you're doing us a disservice.
Right.
And I'm telling Umar, I'm calling him up.
Where did you find? Umar can't tell me nothing right now. Umar going through some real stuff right now with that school. Listen, and shout out to the brother, Dr. Umar. Look, what I'm saying is this, right? Other cultures, they're taught, go and get a man first. And then other men from other cultures are taught to find themselves a wife, settle down. And while they're building their actual future, their assets and everything else, because a lot of times they're passed on to certain things and wealth and creation. And this person already has this amount of money and this and that and third. We're on the bottom, always trying to start. We have to build something up brand new. We're always the first generation of doing this, the first person in our family to do this, the first person in our family to accomplish this, or we're trying to do this. So we don't really have a time to really play games because we got everything on the line. Our parents sacrificed and did X, Y, and Z. So we're not in a position to really have a fallback on anything else. So economically, trying to go up the socioeconomic ladder, that may not be the same exact thing that this other person in this culture has to do, because this person's parent, his father's a doctor, his mother's a lawyer, and, they have one unit and they have a lot of money and resources and they can do many different things. So what I'm trying to say is this: if we were to teach our young folks that are in their 20s, when you go to school, find yourself a good husband. Don't try to go after the one that's basically womanizing, but focus on this person that may be in scientist class, or he may be in the chess club or something like that. He may not be this person, but he's got a good heart and he may be strong or something else. And he may, one day start a chess tech company and become a billionaire. Like, that's who you need to be going after. And I think that if we prioritize that right there will be good, because if we go back into the past, our fathers would set up our daughters. The fathers would set up the daughter. The father would have to be responsible for marrying off the daughter. You didn't even have a say. So, hey, you were marrying this person and that's basically what it was. But we don't have that anymore. Before, we would even have it in the church. Our church don't even do that no more. They used to have couples ministry, single couples ministry, and people would really, there would be a unit. You know what I'm saying? There would be a community. So, and it would be a backed up actual thing. So people back then, you couldn't even really do stuff. If we go even back with our ancestors, your relationship wasn't just on the line. Your entire family was on the line. If you created a bad infraction on our relationship, well, my tribe is going to go to war with your tribe, and that's your father, your brother, all the people that are on your tribe that you grew up with when you were young, their life is on the line. So you had to come correct. You know what I'm saying? And that's even how it was in Europe. That this kingdom will go after this kingdom. This didn't work. So my point is that now it's very easy to get, convoluted or separated or being taught that you have to go out there on your own and kind of do things on your own and, just be career driven and stuff like that. And by the time you look up, there's nobody else that's on your level, you know what I'm saying? Because, of that reason. And now you have, or you may even been in a long-term relationship with somebody and that person may not even exceeded the goals, or you may have been too fast for a person, you know what I'm saying? Because you're coming up at the same time and this person has not leveled up, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that's what happened in your college relationship.
Ooh, let me bring that up.
I mean, that's exactly what happened. You didn't expertise.
Okay, but all right. Talking about the past.
Right.
No, for real.
No, I mean, I agree. I do feel like in other cultures, you do see it. Like, they still have, arranged marriages. In the white culture, they're really big on, like, marrying young, finding you a husband, securing that. But like you said, I feel like Black people, we are always starting at the bottom. And our parents want to see us do better than they have. So, like, yes, they're big on education because they see education as a way of breaking barriers that they weren't able to break. So go to college. Don't let some boy or some girl distract you. You're there to focus on you to make yourself better. But at the end of the day, like Mark was saying, if you focus so much on your career and don't put any emphasis or any importance on building a relationship, it's all together. We're all about, like he said before, like I feel like marriage and relationship, it is a business. Like you should find somebody that you have, shared values with, you share the same ideas and same morals. But at the end of the day, you're trying to come together to build something better than yourself. So if you spend all your life just focused on a career and on yourself, when will you ever be able to build beyond you? You need other people to elevate. You can't just do everything on your own. So we do need to change the focus a little bit. And I'm not saying that you need to be married by 23, but by the time you kind of reach a level in your career where you're like, okay, now I can focus on something. Now you're 40 and you're single and all the opportunities or those past relationships that you didn't really pay no mind because you were so busy focusing on building your career have left. And now you don't really have the opportunity to turn back your biological clock to now, I want to have kids. Now you feel on this time crunch like, I need to start banging out kids. And now you're just settling for anybody because your time it has to be a balance. And I don't think our culture really emphasizes the importance of having another partner. And it's not always that case because, Black marriage, a lot of people are married. They are, the successful couples and things like that. But I just feel like other cultures do prioritize marriage over education. And I think it's important that you focus on both. You should have an idea of what you want and write those goals and have that aligned with your path. And that's why I'm a big proponent, if you are a Black woman or a Black male, to go to a HBCU because it's the Black mecca of single people where you can find your future. Okay?
What do y'all think? Should people in their 20s focus on a career or building family relationships first?
You going?
Yeah, like if you knew a 20-year-old girl, a 20-year-old young girl right now, what would you tell your 20-year-old friends, niece, or your nephew or little cousin that's 20 years old? Are you telling them to focus on their career or build a family relationship first? What are you telling them?
I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Early 20s, I'm definitely telling them to focus on themselves. I feel like we go through so much schooling, we get to 12th grade, and then we push these kids into finding a career, and they don't even know who they are. They full of influence with the phones, the tablets, with friends. Like in high school, like I got my daughter wanting to do sports and stuff that she never wanted to do before, but she wanted to do it because her friends does it. So it's like they're full of influence. They don't know who they are truly. So I feel like that time is, 13, the teenage years up until early 20s, like that should be focused on self, like getting to know who you are. And then when you know who you are, when you know what you're good at, when you know what just seems natural to you, like let's say you're a nurturer, then go be a social worker, whatever. Like then that'll push you into finding what career fits you better than just going into it for money. Like I get everything is about money, but I feel like pushing everybody into careers without finding themselves, it creates an imbalance within the world, because it's like then you find people that's multi-millionaires that commit suicide because they didn't do that that self-work. They don't know themselves, or something in them is broken and they wasn't able to get to it in time because they were so focused on their career. So I feel like self is very important. Like self-love, just self-understanding. That's very important to teach these young kids.
What about you, Danja? What would you tell these young 20-year-olds? Do they focus on their career or building a family or relationship first?
So I would tell them to do both, but I would also pump them with the knowledge that I know with what I went through going through my 20s. So they wouldn't go through the same mistakes, or going through the same hiccups. Because kids are going to do whatever they want to do regardless. But I feel as though, they're not getting the education that they need in regards to like the different relationships. And they're just utilizing what they see off of the internet, right? Off of what they see in their household. So we really need to educate our kids on what a healthy relationship looks like. And, even with careers, what a healthy career looks like, because even in your career, like your boss could be like badgering you or like kicking you while you're down. And that's not healthy at all as well. But they stay in those relationships with them as well longer than they should. And, you got to know when to let it go. So I would just want to educate them on what I know.
Okay.
There it is. Okay.
I got one more piggyback on that. I also feel like it starts way earlier than your 20s. Like raising children, like you said, you have to show them what a healthy relationship is. But you have to instill in your children how to be a husband, how to be a wife. Like, and they should see that from childhood. Not saying they have to have these domesticated roles where the wife always cooks, but how to have respect for one another, how to show love to one another, how healthy relationships look, how do they thrive. So when they are out in the real world in their 20s, this is something they should like already aspire to and not like feel like they have to catch up or learn how, like we said, like the white cultures or things like that. They are big on marriage. So they're all like, oh, this is how you be a wife. This is, they are really big on keeping yourself fit and trim and doing these things. But I feel like we teach our children like life skills and how to respect themselves, how to carry themselves, how to be independent, but yet like our females, how to be independent, but yet being able to submit to the right person, and teach our boys to be strong and to be providers, but also be to emotionally open, to know how it is to treat a woman with respect, to open her doors, to listen to her needs and things like that. I feel like that stuff starts way before. So if they have those values and things instilled in them at a young age, when they go off into their 20s and off into college, into the next thing, there's something they're already like equipped with. And so when they enter those relationships, they know that they're for a purpose and it's not just for the thrill all the time. I just feel like it starts earlier than that. You instill those things and like say this is something that you should want to aspire to. It's a good thing to have a wife. A wife finds a good thing, and so things for a woman. Like, yes, you can be independent and do these things on your own, but you do need a man. In this world, you do. Like, for protection, for everything, you should aspire to those. And if you instill those things, it should just come naturally that you can focus on both. Have your eyes open to a relationship, but it doesn't have to be your main end-all, be-all in your 20s.
Yeah.
You go. Todd, the question was, should people in their 20s focus on career or building a family or relationship first?
I still stick to career, but I do think that is contingent upon what they're taught growing up. Because like you said, some nationalities teach them earlier on different skills so that once they reach a certain age, they're prepared to looking for a relationship and, someone else to be able to do that. But if these things are not, taught to you earlier on, and I think that if you focus on them, without being taught the proper way to know how to handle a relationship or play your position in a relationship or to be able to be the provider that, we should be as men. And I think it changes the game. So it all depends. Yeah, depends.
Absolutely. I think that teaching them young is very, really important. We have to teach our kids young the structure. And I think that's what it is. Like, I think my mom was really busy with, with everything going on, that relationship was not even in the forefront. They're like, oh, you got to go to school, you got to get education, da, 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 da. That's really all of our parents. Nobody really sat there and gave, maybe that should even be like a discussion. Maybe that should be even a subject for young folks to basically to have when they're 18 years old. Once you hit 18 years old, you should create a course for these kids to basically go through so that they can have an understanding of, what it is, what a man looks like, or what a other person, does, and what a person. it's funny because today, I don't even think you saw this post, but I posted this on Facebook because I saw this and I was showing Leela, my daughter's 4 years old, and I'm always giving her little nuggets. So one day, it'll somehow pop up. This is what I was showing her before. And because I'm always telling her other stuff too. So I was showing her this right here. Let me show it real quick. So check this out. Let me know if you can hear this. It's right here, the song. If your man ain't taking care of you like this, then you need to get rid of him. You understand?
Yes, Daddy.
Oh,
But look at that though. See how significant that is right there? The male bird taking care of the females in the rain.
Mhm.
That right there, we don't teach. I was, you know what I mean? My father never taught me that. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we have to step up as men, and we have to, provide and teach our sons and teach our daughters what to expect and basically what not to expect. But I mean, the answer to tell the truth on what that topic was, should people in their 20s? I think, like Don just said, I think that we should focus on both. I think you should, when you're in your 20s, you know what I'm saying, focus on that, because if you're young in your 20s and you start putting mileage on that thing, girl, what do you think is going to happen when you hit your 30s? You're going to have a lot of emotional trauma. You're going to have a lot of baggage. You're going to go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. No, like when you're in your 20s, let this young man have intentions of, but then there's also a thing, because I meet women also too, that's like, when I was really young, got married, and I really, and then they get divorced when they're in their 30s. So it's like a catch-22. You know what I'm saying? We have to, teach them how to have a balance. But also, I think when they have a relationship, they should also have a support system, somewhere to talk to and some sort of outlet, because sometimes women, go into this closed bubble and, it can't express what it is. You know what I mean? And I think also, too, one of the things that I just said, that kind of sort of contradicts it is because I say that, in our relationship, we are kind of tackling our own private issues. Sometimes when you're in a relationship, you may not be sharing your information and stuff like that to the world. Everything comes out when you're dealing with some sort of horror. I think we should teach that when there's red flags and when there's issues and when there's strike one, strike twos, that those things need to be expressed and told to, your support system and your family and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's a cry out for help. But that's my thought.
I agree.